She was just a maid. Invisible. Disposable. But when the billionaire's daughter collapsed in her arms, she did the unthinkable, breaking every rule to save her. Within hours, she was in handcuffs, branded a thief. Yet what the doctor revealed next left the entire world stunned. Before we go any further, if this is your first time watching one of our stories, please hit that subscribe button. Your support means the world to us, and it helps us bring you even more powerful stories. Stick with us until the very end. And if this story moves you, share your thoughts in the comments and send it to a friend. But how did it come to this? Let's go back. Every mansion has ghosts. Not the kind that haunt, but the kind nobody bothers to see. Naomi Clarke was one of them. It had been 3 days since she was hired. Nobody asked why her shoes were tied so tight or why her knuckles were cracked. They just handed her a mop, gave her the corner servant's room, and kept moving. This was the Harwood mansion, a fortress of white pillars and glass walls tucked into the hills. A place where gates didn't just keep danger out, they kept stories like hers out too. Malcolm Harwood, the man who owned it all, didn't speak to staff. Unless you were holding something expensive or breaking something more expensive, you didn't exist. He ran tech, traded stocks across 5 countries, and lived like emotion was a liability. His world wasn't cold. It was temperature-controlled. And then there was Lila, his daughter, 10 years old, delicate as spun glass, cursed with sickle cell. She didn't talk much. Not to the chefs, not to the chauffeurs, not even to her father. Most days, she stayed upstairs in the sunroom, wrapped in soft sweaters and silence. Naomi noticed. Of course she did. Lila's footsteps were shuffles. Her smiles cracked like old paint. But still, nobody looked closer. As long as the medication was stocked, the rooms dust-free and the food warm, that was enough. But Naomi couldn't silence the questions whispering in her mind. Why had the nurse left early the night before? Why had Lila been trembling in the hallway yesterday? And why did nobody else seem to care? Sometimes, the smallest moments screamed the loudest. For Naomi, it was a child's whisper that changed everything. On her 4th morning, Naomi carried a breakfast tray to the 2nd floor. She paused outside Lila's room, knocked once. No answer. She pushed the door open slowly. Lila was on the floor, not passed out, just curled up, eyes open, arms hugging herself from the inside. Naomi froze in the doorway. Not panic, not fear, just a heavy stillness. She set the tray down and sat cross-legged beside her. Quiet. After a long silence, Lila whispered, "It hurts today." Naomi nodded. She didn't speak. She didn't ask questions. She just stayed. Downstairs, near the laundry chute, 2 older maids whispered over folded towels. "Give her a week," one said, smoothing a sheet. "She's too soft for this place." She's got that look, like she's seen struggle, and struggle doesn't last here. They chuckled. Naomi passed silently, arms full of pillowcases. She didn't say a word, but she heard every syllable. Little. Did they know that soft maid was about to do something no one in this mansion had the courage to do? It started as an ordinary morning, until Naomi opened a bedroom door and time stopped cold. The next morning started heavy. Storm clouds hung low over the hills, making the mansion feel dim even with the lights blazing. Malcolm had flown out just before sunrise. Zurich, Singapore. Somewhere that didn't require him to say goodbye. Naomi moved through her routine like clockwork. But something felt wrong. Lila hadn't come down for breakfast. By 9 a.m., the head maid was complaining about detergent. By 10 the staff were busy scrubbing the patio for an investor dinner. Nobody mentioned Lila. Naomi hesitated at her door. Knocked twice. No answer. She opened the door, and time slowed. Lila was half off the bed, drenched in sweat. Her hands shook, lips dry. Her small body curled unnaturally, like it was fighting itself from the inside. The room smelled sharp, like plastic and fear. Naomi dropped to her knees. "Lila!" The girl's eyelids fluttered. Her breath came ragged, like she was breathing through broken glass. Naomi's own hands trembled. She reached for the emergency call button, dead. She sprinted to the hallway phone. Nurse. Voicemail. Malcolm's number. 4 rings. Then 5. Nothing. Again. Nothing. She slammed the receiver down. Downstairs, the maids were laughing near. "The pantry!" Naomi burst in, breathless. "I need someone! Anyone! She's dying!" One maid didn't even look up. "We don't go upstairs without clearance." Another waved her off. "We'll inform the estate manager. That's the process. Process!" While a child lay dying, Naomi clenched her fists. She turned on her heel and ran back upstairs. Lila was barely conscious now, chest rising too fast, too shallow. Naomi looked down the hallway at the locked office door, Malcolm's office. She'd never been inside, but she'd cleaned near it enough to notice the tiny keyhole. The key always hung from the red tag in the basement. "Do not remove." She ran, yanked it free. Nobody saw. The door clicked open. The room was silence and wealth. Leather, glass, polished awards. A Tesla key. Fob on the desk. Beside it, a black clip fat with $100 bills. Naomi hesitated. Not long. She scooped Lila into her arms, trembling under the weight of carrying a sick child half her size. She bolted down the hall. Every camera, every blinking sensor, every invisible rule screamed, "You don't belong here!" But she didn't care. If the system wasn't going to save Lila, Naomi would, even if it meant breaking every rule in this mansion. With alarms blaring behind her and death chasing her in the passenger seat, Naomi chose the one thing no one else dared: action. The Tesla recognized the key instantly. Doors hissed open, and the white leather seats glowed like a stage. She buckled. Lila whispered, "Hold on, sweetheart, please, just hold on." Then she slammed the door shut and floored the accelerator. Tires screamed. Gravel scattered. The gates loomed in the distance. Back at the mansion, alarms wailed. Security screens lit up red. Unauthorized access. Office breach. Vehicle missing. 2 black SUVs rolled out of the garage, headlights slicing through the morning. Haze. Naomi gripped the wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. Her breath came in short bursts. Every second felt stolen. Every mile a crime. Lila's head tilted back, lips cracked, skin turning gray. Naomi whispered the words like a prayer. Over the roar of the road, "Hold on. Just hold on." She didn't follow the GPS. She didn't pick the closest hospital. She chose the best. She knew the city. She knew where Lila would have a chance. Traffic blurred past in streaks. Horns blared. Someone cursed as she ran a red light. None of it mattered. Finally, the hospital entrance glowed ahead, its sliding glass doors like a promise of salvation. The Tesla screeched to a halt across the emergency lane. Naomi jumped out, flung open the passenger door, and scooped Lila into her arms. The girl felt lighter than air, fragile as glass, yet every step Naomi took felt like climbing a mountain. "Help!" she gasped as she burst through the sliding doors. "Please! She has sickle cell! She can't breathe!" Nurses rushed. A crash cart rolled forward. Doctors barked orders in clipped urgency. One voice cut through the chaos. "Parent or guardian?" Naomi shook her head, breathless. "I'm the maid. I'm the maid." But there was no one else. They didn't press. They wheeled Lila away, and suddenly the noise fell away. Naomi stood frozen in the center of that sterile, blinding lobby. Heart hammering, hands trembling. She wasn't supposed to be there. She wasn't supposed to touch the keys. She wasn't supposed to matter. But none of those rules had saved Lila. And just as Naomi thought she had done the right thing, the world turned on her. She had just carried a dying child into the ER. But to the world outside, Naomi wasn't a savior. She was a suspect. Outside, tires screamed. 2 black SUVs boxed the hospital entrance like a verdict. 4 men in navy jackets poured in. Radios. Crackling. Faces fixed. One pointed, "That's her!" Naomi didn't run. Didn't flinch. Cold metal cinched around her wrists. A nurse shouted from the desk, "Hey! What are you doing? She brought in a patient!" The nearest guard didn't. Break stride. His voice was flat and final. "All I see is a black woman in a stolen Tesla with a bundle of cash. She's under arrest." The words hit harder than the cuffs. Not a protector, not a person, just a category. 15 minutes later, Malcolm Harwood walked through the doors like the building had been built for him. Tailored gray, sleeves rolled, jaw tight. His head of security met him halfway. "She's in holding. Vehicle recovered. Still counting the cash." "And my daughter?" Malcolm asked. "Stabilizing. Barely made it in time." A doctor in his 50s approached. Calm, precise, firm. "Mr. Harwood, listen carefully. With sickle cell, minutes matter, seconds matter. If that young woman hadn't brought your daughter when she did..." He paused, let the next word land. "She would have died. Your phones were off. Your staff unreachable. Your security protocol too slow. She saved her. Not you. Not your system. Her." Silence hollowed the space around them. Malcolm blinked once, twice. The truth didn't ask permission to be heard. For the first time, the man who controlled everything met the one thing he couldn't control. The truth about who he'd ignored. The cuffs were tight, the room was cold, and then the billionaire walked in alone. In a bare holding room, Naomi sat straight-backed, wrists cuffed, eyes on the wall. No pleading, no excuses, just breath and resolve. The door opened. Malcolm stepped in. No lawyers, no security. For a long beat, he simply looked at her, not through her. His hand went into his pocket. A small silver key turned and the cuffs fell away. "Come with me," he said quietly. Naomi didn't move. "She's asking. For you." The walk to room 214 stretched like a bridge between 2 lives. Nurses moved with practiced urgency. An orderly paused his mop to watch. Somewhere a child laughed and it echoed along tile. Inside, machines hummed softly. Lila lay under pale blue blankets, IV drip, steady. Her small fingers tapped the sheet, counting seconds only she could hear. Her eyes opened, found Naomi, and brightened. Naomi. It was the only word in the room that didn't demand anything of her. Naomi took her hand. "I'm here." From the corner, Malcolm watched the person he hadn't trusted do the one thing money can't outsource. Stay. A nurse checked vitals, glanced at Naomi with a knowing smile. "She's responding. You got her here in time?" Malcolm cleared his throat. The first word snagged on pride. The second made it out. "Thank you." Naomi kept her eyes on Lila. The machines answered for her. Beep, steady, beep, steady. Outside, phones lit up with headlines that didn't care about context. Kwabi. Morning, the world had already told Naomi's story without her. That was about to change. When power holds the microphone, truth either bends or breaks it. By noon, the banners were everywhere. Black Maid and Billionaire scandal. Kidnapping, stock footage, stock outrage, zero curiosity. Malcolm's office announced a live statement for that evening. At sunset, the mansion gates opened like a curtain. Floodlights, cameras, whispers. Malcolm stood at the podium with no tie, no teleprompter. Beside him, Naomi, not in uniform, but in a simple pressed gray dress. Her hands trembled. Her spine did not. "Last night," Malcolm began, voice leveled, to cut through noise. "My daughter nearly died." The lawn went silent. And the only reason she is alive is because of the woman standing beside me, Naomi Clarke. The world was quick to brand her a thief. But here is the truth even a child can understand. My systems failed. I failed. Naomi acted. Naomi saved my daughter's life. Flashbulbs cracked. A reporter called. "Will there be charges?" "Against whom?" Malcolm asked. "The woman who carried my child into an ER while everyone else consulted a rule book?" "What? About the cash?" another shouted. "Every dollar was mine," Malcolm said. "If she'd had to burn it for light to keep my daughter breathing, I would have thanked her for the fire." He turned to Naomi, then back to the cameras. "We say systems protect us, but they're only as humane as the people inside them. Last night exposed something ugly. We were ready to believe the worst about a black woman in a gray dress before asking why she was carrying a child. I was blind too." He faced Naomi. "I'm sorry." The words moved through the crowd like a key turning a rusted lock. "Effective immediately," he continued. "Naomi Clarke will never again be treated as the help in my home or in my life. I've created a trust in her name. And more than that. Naomi will lead our family's medical outreach foundation, focused on emergency response training for domestic workers and caregivers. Because the first responders in this country are often the ones we pay the least and trust the least, until the moment we need them most." A reporter asked Naomi, "Do you want to say anything?" Naomi looked into the lenses meant to capture light, not always truth. "I did what any human should do. Next time, I hope the first thing you see isn't a uniform or a headline. See the person. See the child." Inside, Lila stirred long enough to ask a question that made a nurse swallow hard. "Am I in trouble?" "No, baby," Naomi whispered, smoothing her blanket. "You're safe." Online, something rare happened. People started listening. Nurses shared stories of maids and nannies who had been the first adults to act. A security guard from another hospital posted, "We need to learn to see before we judge." It was one sentence, and enough. But justice isn't a speech. It's what happens after the cameras go home.